Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. Today with another anniversary video. On the 1st of June 1979, so 45 years ago to this date, the Intel 8088 CPU was launched. Why is this vintage processor in any way interesting to talk about? Well, let's dive into it. When we look at the overall transistor count evolution of CPUs over time, we often forget that it all started way back in the 1970s. So let's zoom into this period. End of 1971, Intel launched the world's first CPU, the Intel 4004, being a 4-bit processor. Soon enough, the first 8-bit Intel CPU was brought to the market, the 8008, leading to the even more successful 8080 due to its usage in many early computers such as the MIT's Altair 8800 and the MSI 8080. This was followed by the compatible and more refined 8085, and later by the assembly language compatible 8086, which was Intel's first 16-bit processor. Now one must understand that the straight jump from an 8-bit to a 16-bit system seems logic from evolutionary point of view, but at the time it came with quite some hurdles, especially high cost. I mean not only the cost of the processor itself, but also of all required components and circuitry supporting the CPU. As a consequence, Intel saw the opportunity to introduce a low-cost 8-bit version of the 8086. And this is when the 8088, today's birthday child, was born. Already in March 1979, Intel started communicating about this new chip, claiming, "The 8088 has the full 16-bit internal architecture of the 8086, mated to an 8-bit data bus interface that is compatible with the 8085. The 5 MHz speed of the 8088 and total software compatibility with the 8086 makes the 8088 the world's highest performance 8-bit processor." Well, yes, the 16-bit registers and the same execution unit indeed was used. But what is not said is that by crippling the bus interface to 8-bit, the chip lost half of its performance. In any case, the 8088 attracted IBM's engineers, and they selected this CPU for the model 5150 to be launched in 1981, which is known as the original IBM PC. IBM chose the 8088 over the similar but superior 8086 because Intel offered a better price for the former and could provide more units, and the 8088's 8-bit bus reduced the cost of the rest of the computer. The 8088 was also used in the succeeding model 5160, which is also known as the IBM PC XT or simply XT. And that's when IBM was setting the standard for PCs using Intel's x86 architecture. I have here in my collection a variety of those processors from the 70s and 80s. Starting with the Intel 4004 on the lower left, the 4040, the 8008, the 8080 and 8085, and finally the 8086. The 8088 is here in the middle section. On the right you see some 8088 versions produced by AMD and Fujitsu. Don't forget that these CPUs did not have a dedicated floating point unit at the time. For such tasks, a dedicated microprocessor chip like this Intel 8087 was needed. I recently purchased some ceramic dip versions of the 8088 and one of them will be decapped today. Okay, let's do this! Alright, so in order to decap the chip I will use my vise and insert the 8088 in this fashion, and you see that this dip package has 2 ceramic layers, and in between there's this kind of a glue, and I will try to heat this up and with a screwdriver try to break it open. Okay, so let's squeeze this in, not too deep, so that I have still access to the middle layer. And yeah, let's start the heat gun. I will start with 500 degrees. Okay, and off went the lid. Okay folks, let's conclude. The Intel 8088 is not only a landmark in the CPU history, but also basically the processor grandfather of all personal computers that we know, as it boosted the standardization of PCs via the x86 architecture of Intel. By reducing the external bus to 8-bit, Intel already introduced in 1979 a means to lower the cost and hence address budget market segments. Intel successfully continued this approach with the 386, but they did not call it the 388, but the 386SX, having only 16-bit external bus. The 486SX also existed, but this version lost its on-die FPU, which was integrated as of the 486 line. Even today, low-cost segments are addressed with the Intel Celeron CPUs. Alright, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hang on for further CPU-related videos on my channel.